I'd been involved with Mini Maestros for almost 6 or 7 years before I purchased the franchise. So my children went to Mini Maestros and I loved the program, and I had done a little bit of work previously with a colleague of mine for her, and I'd even done some training but got a bit scared, so I didn't go ahead with it at the time because the timing wasn't right. But the reason why I chose the franchise when I did is because everything fell into place and my children were at school. It was a turning point in my life. I needed something to challenge me and to move forward. This was a good choice, a good option. The biggest challenge I faced in the first year was learning the repertoire for the program. There are so many songs and you just don't stop singing. At night, in your car, when you're doing the groceries, you're just always singing Mini Maestro songs, which was the biggest challenge, I think, just getting your head around all of the repertoire and the teaching component of the program. It was resolved after the first year or two of teaching. You kind of roll it out over the terms, and the support that you get from head office with the training that you do certainly helps with all of that. My main concerns and reservations with buying the franchise was whether it was going to work in our region, because our population isn't as large as some of the other areas in the Macedon Ranges. I thought, will it support it? So there was an awful lot of research that went into seeing whether it was going to be an option. Spoke to the council and spoke to lots of early childhood facilities in the area, and I just basically took a deep breath and ran with it. I haven't owned a business before, but I grew up in a family of people who owned businesses, so I think being realistic about having your own business is really important. I don't think you need to have owned a business before having a Mini Maestros franchise. I think the support is there from head office, and you have a lot of camaraderie within the team of people that work with you, the other franchise owners and the other teachers that are working within the business. I've had some things happen over the years, and Bruce and Jenny have always been so supportive and so helpful. And Emma, our head of teaching, she's been great and such a great resource for lots of different things. And even for things like if you think of a way that you can do something better, they're always so proactive and so, yes, absolutely, we'll take that on and consider putting it into the program if you can find another way of doing things. So it's great confidence to know that you've got that support. I think the startup costs were manageable. It is a small business. In fact, I think it's actually a micro business. So the startup costs compared to starting up a cafe or starting up a franchise in another industry, I think they're really very minimal for the benefit that you're going to get if you're in it for the longer term. If you're giving 5 to 10 years of your time to the business, then it's absolutely, I think, a minimal cost. My teaching hours are around 25 hours a week, and on top of that, I like to think that it's about an hour a day. So in admin and returning phone calls, sometimes of course it's more than that, but most of the time I think we would be working around 30 to 35 hours a week. And over the course of the year, I do a 9-week term, so there's 36 weeks a year that I'm working physically teaching. And then of course there's often times in the holiday period where you're also doing a little bit of work, but it's quite flexible. Considering how many hours you put into the business, I think absolutely it's commensurate with any part-time job, and I'm happy with that. It's not always about that either. It's oftentimes about the ability to run a business alongside having a family and other commitments. This ongoing challenge, I think, would be the physicality of the job and the amount of effort that you need to make sure that you're able to do every day, day on day. It's quite an energetic role, and you need to be presenting yourself every day. You're basically performing all day, for as long as you're teaching each day. So your Monday, Tuesday might be fine, but you need to be able to ensure that you're still on that same level and operating at that same level by Friday. I think one of the biggest challenges of operating a Mini Maestros franchise in a regional area is that sometimes you do feel a little isolated and that you are doing it on your own. As much as you're only a phone call away from head office or other colleagues, it is a tricky thing to be able to manage teaching and the admin and the marketing and the sales and so forth. So you need to be quite confident in your abilities to do that before you jump on. lot of joy in owning a Mini Maestros franchise. And it's not always just about the music. I love seeing parents that are making friendships through Mini Maestros. I love seeing grandparents that are welcome and feel included to come to our classes, and then they make friendships through Mini Maestros. I love the children that might come in with a flower that they've picked out of the garden on the way in, or just the sharing and the general just social nurturing part of the classes I get a lot of joy from. Things like with the 4 to 5-year-olds, they might come in one day and have written you a song, and they can, towards the end of the year, they can play that on their chime bars. So, you know, there's lots and lots of opportunities for endless joy. I think you have to be really passionate about early childhood development to have a Mini Maestros franchise. I think that musically, yes, you have to love music and you have to love children, but I think having that passion for their early years of learning, I think that's really one of the key things that you need to be aware of before you would purchase a franchise. Being a Mini Maestros teacher is very rewarding. I think any kind of teaching role, you're going to be rewarded, you know, tenfold on what you give. However, I think that the thing that I love the most is just the getting to know the families that come to your classes. There's some families I've had coming now for almost 7 years, and you see all of their babies being born, you meet their parents, you meet their other friends that they want to bring, and aunts and uncles, and I think just having that sense of community is really special. Oh gosh, there's been lots of beautiful moments in class. I think the nicest things I see are when the children are actually starting to respect one another and they start to share. I think that's the loveliest thing I ever see is someone hasn't bought their duck cut out for the day, for instance, and we're doing a ducky song, that they hand over their ducky and let their friends share. I think those sorts of moments are priceless. What makes it worthwhile? Gosh, there's so many things. The end of year concert is fabulous. I love having the end of year concert, and you just see that culmination of all that hard work that's gone into it throughout the year, and you see how proud the parents are and the grandparents can come, and it's just such a fantastic ending to a great year. And I think who could not be happy when they're playing with ribbons and dancing and singing all day? Honestly, it just makes you happy. You can have a really terrible morning and start off feeling really down, and by 9:30 you're feeling great because you're shaking coloured ribbons and blowing bubbles and singing songs and having a dance. So it really is the best job in the world. I received some lovely insight, sort of visions from other franchisees when I was looking at purchasing my business, and so whenever I've had people ring me or ask me about whether they should buy a franchise, I'm all for it. I think it's a fabulous career and a beautiful job to have, and it fits a lot of different kinds of people. You know, for me it works because I get to work part-time, I have holidays off with my children, I'm able to still visit my parents interstate because I'm on holidays regularly, you know, with the term breaks. So it works for me, but then I have other colleagues who have teachers employed and they run it like a business, and they have teachers doing the teaching and they do the marketing and planning. So it depends on what you want out of it. I've got colleagues who are grandparents and still teaching Mini Maestros. You can tailor it to your lifestyle, and if you're after a balance, being able to mix your work with your family life, it's just the perfect job.